Well, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Stormer, and this week on the show, I'm joined by my good friend Simon Moody for a game of What's So Cool About Lucha Libre. What's So Cool About Lucha Libre is a super lightweight role-playing game based on what's so cool about outer space, about something that listeners of the show know is one of my favorite topics in the world, pro wrestling, specifically Lucha Libre, and specifically the role of the luchador in pop culture as sort of larger-than-life superhero. It is one of my favorite things in this or any world. And I could not wait. I've been wanting to play this game on the show for ages and ages, ever since it came out. And frankly, this episode did not disappoint. This is a story about high-flying, monster-hunting luchadors protecting their community by the forces that would come in and destroy it. It is big, it is bold, it is action-packed, it is super heroic. It absolutely rules. I loved every minute of it, and I really think you're going to enjoy listening to it. You absolutely should pick up your own copy of What's So Cool About Lucha Libre, especially because, I can't really describe how utterly beautiful it is, because this is an audio-only medium, but, the game's layout is gorgeous and full of life and color, and it is visually stunning, and I really think that you should just pick up the game and read through it and just flip through it to take in the visuals, because it is such an evocative, beautiful game. You can find your own copy of What's So Cool About Lucha Libre at colorspraygames.itch.io, or you can check the show notes for more information. Simon is the designer of What's So Cool About Lucha Libre. He is also a tabletop RPG and LARP designer, a freelance RPG author, an actual play streamer at the All Nerds Here channel, including one of the cast members of Cortisone Station, an out-of-this-world galactic game of the world's greatest role-playing game, Pasión de las Pasiones by Brandon Leon Gambetta, that airs every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern at twitch.tv/allnerdshere. Simon is also a cast member on the Penumbra podcast. He is also a pro GM and Discord mod for Magpie Games. Simon does a lot of cool stuff. I love seeing all the cool stuff that he does. I also just love following him on Twitter at Lucha Libris. And frankly, you should do the same. One quick thing before we dive in, a special thank you to Bobby Banner and Nathan Watts, our newest backers on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting the show, as well as the games that I create, all of the weird little things that I do here, there, and everywhere. Patreon backers get early access to episodes, they get raw audio for Party of One episodes, they get the text of new games before they are released to the world, they get all sorts of cool stuff that I'm kind of currently still working out some of the higher tiers to make things a little better, but they get a lot of cool stuff, and you should be a backer as well. You can back the show on Patreon at patreon.com/JeffStormer. And with all that said, let's throw it over to me in the past so that he can get started with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week, I am so excited to be sitting down with Simon Moody. Simon, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Jeff, thank you so much for having me. I am just over the moon about this.
That makes two of us. I said this to you before we recorded, but this is the highlight of my day. This is I've been looking forward to this for a while. I could not be more excited. Real quick, why don't you take a moment to let the lovely listeners at home know about what we're playing this week, as well as anything else you've got going on that you might want them to know about.
Sure. My name is Simon. I am a tabletop role-playing game designer, and this is What's So Cool About Lucha Libre, which is a game that I wrote for the What's So Cool About Jam a little while back. It is a game that is sort of a love letter to Lucha Libre, to wrestling media in general, as well as specifically Lucha Underground, and also games like Guacamelee, and sort of an arcade feel to it, like Streets of Rage. It was written in about a week, so it's a little bit of a fever dream of a game, and I'm looking forward to potentially putting out some more stuff, including maybe a little GM-less mode as we play this out. We might be kind of live playtesting some ideas I'm going to bounce around in my head.
This is we might break it. It might completely fall flat, but we're going to see how it goes.
But that's game design, baby.
That's game design, baby. Seriously, I know that I've said this a million times on social and off mic and other places. I'm going to say it on mic just so I can have it on the record. This game rips. This game slaps. I remember you posted the first social media, you posted the first layout images of it, and I looked at it and I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is it. It is a breathtakingly good looking game, and it reads so wonderfully. All of that the joy and passion is in it, and it fills me with such joy and excitement. And I've been excited to play it ever since I saw those photos on Twitter. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, heck yeah! I'm ready to see what happens when we put it on the road and if the wheels fall off.
That's gameplay, baby. All right, let's get into this. So what's so cool about Lucha Libre is a game about we are both technico wrestlers. We are luchadors who fight for the common folk. We are wearing iconic masks. We fight evil whenever it arises. It is our sworn duty to oppose any rudo who serves evil causes. As a luchador, we are equal parts wrestler and superhero. Sometimes we wrestle rudos in the ring. Sometimes we wrestle vampires in hell or aliens in outer space. The mask we wear es magica. It gives us special powers and lets us see beyond the normal world, and we perceive el mundo espiritual, the world of spirits, monsters, and gods. I feel like, I don't know if we talked about this, but I adore lucha movies really specifically. They are a passion point of mine. So like I read that pitch and I was like, good, I'm here, I'm ready. Like this was I've been dying for this. So I'm so excited. So we are going to be playing this a little bit GM-less. So we are going to be playing luchadors, as well as we're going to be like sharing the announcer duties. The announcer sets up a scenario. The luchador responds to it, and in turn fights a monster, saves the world, saves the day, does all of that cool stuff. So to start, we should lay out who we are.
Yeah. So this game has a very light character creation system that's based on What's So Cool About Outer Space, which is a very, very rules-light game. It's only about 4 pages, and those 4 pages can fit on note cards easily. So when I was writing the game for the jam, I wanted to kind of build on that a little bit, adjust the flavor to Lucha Libre and to the media that I was drawing on. And also for the general rules, kind of punch them up a little bit to add some more thematic flavor and some more meat on the bones. So when we create characters, you can kind of do these in any order that makes sense. I know some people like to create names for their characters after they know a little bit about who they are. And that makes a lot of sense for this game, because part of what you need to do is create a mask, right? So what I'm working on is the idea that, like in Guacamelee, for example, right? The main character finds this magical mask that is from history that imbues him with the power of the spirit world. And so you also are a wrestler who has one of these magical masks. So what we're going to do is, in order, according to the rules, choose a name, give ourselves some pronouns, and then create a mask. You can choose options on the list or make up your own. I personally am going to roll some dice.
I think I'm going to roll as well.
How that works.
I was coming in thinking I was going to choose, and now I'm sitting here and I'm like, I think for this I want to roll and see what happens and create my character based on my roll results.
Yeah. So the rolls that we have, we do 2d6, 2 6-sided dice. For color, your mask has 2 colors. It has a theme and 1 or more interesting details. So the first thing you're going to roll on is 2 dice for color. And I rolled a 3 and a 2, so my mask is blue and white.
And mine is blue and gold.
Ooh. Blue themes. The next thing we're going to roll on is a theme, which sort of describes the general aesthetic of the mask overall. I definitely encourage you to go out and look at some lucha masks if you haven't already, because they run the gamut of very silly to very dark and kind of scary. Mine is a religious theme, which is interesting.
I also rolled so something is jumping out to me immediately that I want to pitch to you.
Yeah, shoot.
Based on the fact that we've been rolling very similarly, I think I would like to propose that we are like a proper tag team.
We dedicated are a proper tag team?
Yeah. We are not 2 single stars who have brought together. We are not El Santo and Blue Demon. We are a tag team of wrestlers because we both have religious masks that have blue as a central color. I think that we are a team that has been together for a long time.
Yeah, I love it. Let's go with it.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll for a detail.
Yeah, so when you roll for details, you can roll 1 or more dice, as many as you want. And I guess you could roll 6 dice and get all options if you really wanted to. Or you could
roll 6 dice and just have so many sequins.
Right, just completely covered in it. At what point does that become just glitter? I rolled 2 dice for funsies, because I have 2 dice in front of me. And I have sequins or gems and horns as my details.
I rolled 1 and I got a hood or cowl.
Ooh. I think there's some...
and I'm picturing very specifically like a mask And like it's not a what I'm picturing that it's not is the is like a Batman style mask and cowl. Like this is very specifically like a mask, like a very straightforward lucha mask, a la like sort of a Blue Demon like style mask, where it's just kind of the face mask, and then a very kind of elaborate hood on top of that, kind of in sort of the Robin Hood or Wizardly vein, right? Like the big elaborate hood on top that I can lower down when things get real or when I'm about to step in the ring.
I love that. That's cool. And horns in this case can be literal horns, but also if you look at a lot of lucha masks, you'll see that there are these kind of frills that come off the sides and curl up. And so
that's my absolute favorite. I love the frill horns. They're
so dynamic,
especially when they kind of fall back, when they kind of flow backwards, like Phoenix's mask, where they've got the horns that kind of fall backwards. It's my absolute. It's the coolest thing in the world.
They're almost like dragon frills at a certain point.
They're just it's such a cool effect, especially when they're moving through the ring and I'm trying not to just completely spend this entire recording just gushing about this stuff. So I will try to contain myself as best as possible, but I make no promises.
No. It's totally understandable. The joy is real.
It is indeed.
So I think I'm gonna go with those frills. I like the kind of spiky look rather than having like big old bull horns, which I think is good.
So I think the aesthetic, the visual that I'm seeing, since it's religious iconography, and I specifically have gold and blue, is almost like the I don't think there are eye holes in my mask. I think it is sort of the sort of black mesh scenario, but I think it's like a bar of black mesh over my eyes, and it is quite literally like a gold like cross and filigree that like goes across my eyes and like right down the center. So it's like a gold cross front and center with the sort of black mesh bar in the middle of it where my eyes go to just, and like all you see is that big golden cross.
Nice. I think I'm gonna take a similar pattern. I think we've got the frills that are probably blue as the highlight over a white mask. So the main body of the mask is white, with the blue highlights, because I think that's an interesting twist on the color pattern. I think there's also a similar cross pattern that goes across the sort of the eyebrow ridge and then down most of the front of the face.
Very
sort
cool.
of divides
very
it in
cool.
half. And I think the gems are just sort of like little studs, right? They're these little cabochons that kind of line the cross, so they go all the way kind of up and down over the sides. Who am I thinking of? Is it Caristico, who has a sort of similar... There's a few of these religious kind of cross...
I can kind of picture like what you're thinking of.
Studs.
I think it might be Caristico. Yeah. If nothing else, Caristico definitely has the like jeweled like cabochon effect, like along like where his mouth is. He's got the kind of jewels on the end, which is what I'm picturing. Like his mask at least has those very big like gemstone accents.
Yeah. Cool. Now that we've kind of got our aesthetic, we have a cause that we fight for. Each character has a cause that you believe in over all others. As a technico, you believe in justice. You are trying to fight evil wherever it appears, but there's something that kind of drives you. So you roll 2d6, or you can choose an option or make up your own. I'm going to roll the dice again because I'm curious. Secretly hoping for one option, but... I have a total of 5. I fight for the poor and the downtrodden.
I love that. I got a 6, which is I fight monsters that prey on innocence. And that is like a very good pairing together, right? Like if it is very specifically, and that feels bright, that feels awesome, like that, like combining those together to create a tag team, like tells me very specifically that we are in like a poor working class neighborhood, and like that is beset upon by like the supernatural.
Yeah, I love that. That's very
and that
classic.
is, and like it so it also bounces very nicely off of an idea that I had been playing with, that I maybe want to hold on to, but at least a scenario that like I think is interesting. Or maybe this isn't so much us solving a mystery as we know the monster up front and we're chasing after them. Because I have an idea for like a monster that fits very nicely into that was I've been kicking around ideas, because I oftentimes am like, what if this monster was wrestling?
Yeah.
It's just this where my brain lives.
I love that. I'm excited to see where that goes. So we have our causes, and now we have to choose a signature style of wrestling that emphasizes certain kinds of moves over others. So how do we fight our foes? Describe our style. The options I've written out are throws, pure strength, martial arts, grapples, high-flying moves, or otro estilo, some other kind of fighting style. What are you thinking is your particular style of wrestling?
I am picturing somewhere between throws and pure strength. I in my head, I don't picture a high flyer luchador. I'm picturing barreled, chested, not ripped in the way that like my favorite wrestlers often are. I don't look ripped. I don't look shredded. I don't have like a WWE build. I just look thick and heavy and like I actually look like I lift boxes for a living, right?
Oh,
like that's
yeah.
sort of like big. I
thick slice of beef, right?
A thick slice of beef, yeah. That's what I'm picturing. So like throws and pure strength in terms of like because one of my absolute favorite things in wrestling, and this is a very specifically Japanese thing that kind of has bled into the rest of the broader wrestling world, is the wrestling spot of I'm gonna run into you and you're just gonna stand still and then you're gonna point at a rope and then we're just gonna do that for a few minutes.
Yeah,
that is something that I picture my wrestler does.
Yeah, just shoves them around, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I love it. I think I'm going to play off of that, because I've got an idea that's kind of brewing in the back of my mind as kind of an interesting counterpoint, where I think I'm the Batman to your Superman in a way.
I like that. I really like that.
I think I'm leaning towards martial arts. I love the way that Rey Fenix fights, and I don't think as far as I know, he's not trained in MMA or anything like that, but he has a very fluid...
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Claws and kicks kind of style, and I think that's where this character lives, is in that sort of a little bit of a shoot type fighter. We have skills and assets that help us seek justice. We choose 2 traits, so they might help in the ring, but they help more outside of the ring, such as stunning athleticism, high octane driving, supernatural lore, inspiring presence, elemental manipulation, or something else cool. Otro rasgo chido. I am imagining there's got to be some kind of athleticism for this character, for me at least, because I'm imagining jumps and like almost a high flyer, but more on the individual hand-to-hand stuff. So I'm definitely going to start
sort of
with stunning
like
athleticism.
a parkour energy.
Yeah. And then I'm going to think about my second one. What about you?
I feel like I partially because of what burns in my heart, and partially the very specific visual that I see in my head. There is something profoundly supernatural about the act of like having the hood kind of over your eyes and like drawing it back. Yeah. Kind of in that sort of like Obi-Wan Kenobi style of like, oh, now that you know that it's gotten real because I've drawn back the hood. So I'm picturing supernatural lore as like I am and maybe this is a character detail that I'm going to add here. Also it's also just because it's something that I love in. You see it in like Lucha specifically, almost more than a lot of other areas. I think I'm old. I think I am an old guy. I think I'm an old guy wrestler. Yeah. Because old guy luchadors are my favorite. Like L.A. Park and Dr. Wagner. Like old guy luchadors are my favorite. Just with like they're just who I'm the most here for. So yeah, I think I am older. I think that I am from the last generation, and with that, like, I come with a catalog in the back of my mind of like I've seen, like, it's less so like I don't think I know the rituals so much as I know like the last time that I was here.
Yeah. You've been around the block, you've done it all and seen it all, and still there are horrors that lurk within the night that prey upon the innocent. But you have this extensive mental Rolodex to call. That's why I can't take off the mask yet, right?
Yeah,
right. One day, one last job.
One day. One day I will pass on what I know, and I will pass on this mask and this responsibility, but today is not that day.
Yeah. I'm going to say that I have some kind of stealth ability too, because if we're going on this Batman theme, I'm going to go with first thought, best thought on this one, because this game can go as like very grounded, right? We're just wrestlers fighting wrestlers, or wrestlers fighting criminals, but also we go on the supernatural. We're magical. I'm going to go with shadow manipulation.
Shadow manipulation is very cool.
Is my second ability.
It's very cool. I'm going to go with tying into the being older and into sort of my place in the world a little bit. I'm going to go with partial, like, I think maybe I'm going to go with what I'm going to describe as like status in the community.
Ooh.
I am right. Like I'm here. I've been here for 20 years, right? Like I've been here for my, like, so long that, like, you know, I have invested some of my money into the local corner stores, and like everybody kind of knows me, and there's just that sense of like if we need something, we know who to turn to, and like I have like a history that kind of bleeds into sort of every part of the little neighborhood that we're in.
Yeah, everywhere you go, people know your name and call on you. You've helped someone in some way. Yeah. On every block of this neighborhood.
I really love that. It's just that image of like it's that image of like, you know, it's being the icon, right? Like it is 100% my jam, and also it kind of leans into the Superman Batman dynamic that we've kind of fleshed out here.
Yeah. So I think with that, we are set. The last thing each character gets, in addition to a name and pronouns, is you have 3 falls. So this game uses falls instead of HP, because we're wrestlers, we're thematic. And the last thing you need is a D4, which you set to the number 4, which is how you track your En Fuego mechanic, which is sort of like a superpower. If you think about in an arcade fighting game or a beat 'em up, as you punch people, you charge up an attack bar sometimes, or it increases every time you take damage. And that's sort of like a rubber banding mechanic. You hit your 2 buttons, you're punching your jump button or you're punching your kick button, and you do your extra joy move or whatever it is. That's something that you can use to create all kinds of cool effects, like defeating enemies, just waves of enemies, or overcoming an obstacle or something else that's super cool. And you charge it up by doing things that relate to your cause or that are just generally exciting. You could probably use tokens if you wanted to instead of a D4. I just like the idea of slowly ticking up a die.
I also just like the D4.
The D4 is a maligned die that deserves a lot more love, I think.
It's a cool little pyramid that's got sharp corners and like it's got numbers on it. What is not to love about this good little buddy?
Yeah, the Caltrop is a proud member of the team. So that's it. I'm ready to go. I think the last thing is just to name characters. I'm going to name my character Venganza, Vengeance or Revenge.
That's real good. My character's name is Paladin.
Nice. Yes.
Venganza and Paladin are a good tag team.
Yeah, I'm into it. My pronouns are going to be he or they, I think.
And I think my pronouns will be the same.
Okay. Fantastic. So the tag team of Paladin and Venganza are ready to go.
So here's the scenario that I want to posit us in.
Hit it.
I've been thinking about this, and this fits really nicely with the sort of like neighborhood that we're in, coupled with supernatural monsters. is originally I had envisioned this as being like another wrestler comes to us, but I think it works just as well if it's just like someone in the neighborhood. People have been coming to us because I think somebody comes to us or comes to me or comes to you. Somebody like a word has come out that somebody in the community like did something, like committed like a heinous crime, like killed like there's a murder that someone is like I have no memory of doing this, but all the records show, like the cameras, and this is something that has happened a few times, and what it seems to point to is that someone has obtained like a book of names, like a quite literally like a booker's book of like magical names that if you write sort of a death note of control, right? Like the book of names, the Satan's book of names and souls seems to be in someone's hand that they are using to exert control over this neighborhood, and all of these crimes seem to be pointing in a particular direction.
So these people are being manipulated by some sinister force. Some book that I saw used decades ago. Yeah, I think it makes the most sense that it's a civilian who comes to Paladin. It's like, you've been everywhere. You've seen all kinds of mysterious things. Surely you must know something, because we have no memory of these things, and we are being cursed. We are being punished unjustly by some creature.
And I think this is happening at I'm going to say a meet and greet event outside of a grocery store, like in the parking lot where I'm shaking hands, and like someone comes to me, and I think they're like I picture them as hiding like behind, like someone calls out to me and they're like hiding, right? They're hiding amongst cars and
right, nervously trying to work up the courage to approach you. Like, is this an appropriate time?
Yeah.
Like the situation is so dire. How could I not?
And it's like, maybe it's not even, they're not even asking for themselves. It's like someone that they love is like hiding in the shadows because they've been accused of this horrible crime. And maybe the key, maybe the thing is there's like a photo of them standing over a body, right? In that classic, like they have no memory of this, but here they are. It's undeniable. And it's that great, like, kind of half overhead shot. And the thing that we notice, the thing that tips Paladin off that this is a thing that I need the help of my boon companion Venganza is there is like a signature, almost a sigil on the ground around this murder. And it's like, it is very specifically 3 lines of blood that run in a square around where the murder has happened. And it's like, they made a ring.
Yeah. There's clearly the marks of this summoning circle type deal. Yeah.
And so I think that like we get that setup, right? Like we get that moment. Let me ask, what is our opening? So we've seen our introduction to Paladin. What is our introduction to Venganza?
I think it's probably, if that's like in the middle of the day, right?
Yeah.
I think it's probably the same time of day, but just like across town. I imagine we have, because we have the ability to at any time step sideways into the spirit world, the mundo espiritual. We have sort of a telepathic link. So I think Venganza is kind of slowly navigating through the rafters of a warehouse to try and track down some information about someone who's exploiting the lower class in the neighborhood. Maybe it's like a gentrification situation. That there's like a suit, just a real big land developer who is gloating with their cronies about how, like the people here are too foolish to know that actually, there is no law on the books that says that they have to vacate this apartment building in 24 hours.
No one's gonna ask the question. They're just gonna do it.
Right. And once we do, then we'll be free to put in all of these other things. Replace it with a mega mall or something. Luxury apartments.
This is gonna be a beautiful parking lot.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna pave paradise and put that parking lot up. This will really turn things around for the town. And no one wants to see this undesirable tenement building here. What have these people ever done? These leeches on society or whatever. So Venganza is up in the rafters, and I think Venganza has this sort of general look of like an avenging ghost, avenging angel kind of vibe, like a long cloak that is, of course, stylishly tattered.
Yeah, of course.
And is sneaking around. And just before... actually, let's say maybe it is, because it's not important to the story. Venganza, dives down off the rafters and is like, well, you can't build this construction site here because you're removing a proud history of these people. They've been here. They built this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. The people who came here and lived here provide all the things that you say that you don't need, and you're just going to throw them away like trash.
There is as you jump down on the wall of this building that is behind you, there is a spray painted mural of Venganza and Paladin standing together. That's
so good. And I think there's a moment where the suit just is taken aback, another one of these costumed crusaders. What do you think you're doing here? The law will not provide this. I have friends within the police department. Mm-hmm. I have friends that go all the way to the top. You don't know what big of an enemy you're about to make by doing this foolish thing. And I think Venganza's hey, yeah, that's a risk that I'm willing to take.
And I think what happens is as the land develops. So I think we cut back briefly to the supermarket, and I kind of step to the crowd and I'm like, I am sorry, everyone. There is business. You must understand. The life of a luchador is one of excitement, but it is always one of living on the move. And everybody kind of laughs. And I step around a corner and I throw my hood back over my head and I kind of bring it around myself. And in an instant, we just watch the cape fall and then kind of sizzle into the shadows.
Yeah.
As I step into the spirit world. And the next thing we see is that behind this land developer, it's grabbing two of the heads of their cronies and just bashing them together and laying them out. As I just kind of cross my arms and give you an encouraging nod, do what you gotta do.
Right. So Venganza looks up at that, having dropped into a fighting stance, and looks up at Paladin I had those, and then turns around and does just drops into an enzigiri to snap the other guy.
Love it.
Into the ground. And after this 5-second fight sequence, Venganza turns around. Well, you wouldn't have interrupted me if there wasn't something important.
Of course not. You know how I love letting you have your fun.
It is fun, but it is also a duty. I take pride in my work.
And Venganza, that is what I most respect about you. I wouldn't wear the colors of another wrestler if I didn't believe that about you 100%.
Ooh, good.
Oh yeah, and there's definitely, I think what we see when I say that is that the spray painted mural behind us is Paladin's outfit is hold on, I can actually roll for this.
Ooh.
There's a table here. It's actually green and gold. The baseline is green. I was originally green and gold, and since partnering with you, I have taken on your blue.
Oh, that's
to represent
cool.
that even though I am the veteran here, I'm no, this is I am showing you this is my show of ultimate respect and trust in you that this color is just a color. I am investing myself in you in this partnership.
Yeah. I think also I didn't have a hood before, or some kind of mantle.
Yeah.
I think the cape was there, but there wasn't like an extra layer of kind of that shoulder draping cape with the hood that pulls up.
I love
so
that.
I've taken part of your costume to represent that bond as well.
Here's the thing. Wrestlers changing their outfit to reflect their tag team hits me in the heart every single time I see it. It kills me. It kills me with joy. So I'm so happy about this.
Yeah.
I think Paladine like smiles and is like, I wouldn't do this if I wouldn't interrupt you if it wasn't important. Hands you the photos and is like, look at this. There's something here.
I've never seen anything like this.
Well, that's because you haven't been around as long as I have. 15 years ago, there were a string of murders that rocked this neighborhood. People don't talk about them anymore because it upset so many people. It's a quiet shame that we hide away, and perhaps that's wrong of us to do, but a place that has been wronged deserves the right to move past that. Someone has obtained the Book of True Names. You can see, and I point to the borders, I point to like the 3 lines of blood, I point to kind of the summoning circle ring pattern, and I'm like, someone has obtained a book that can cause untold supernatural damage. It transforms people, it possesses them, it gives them supernatural strength, and when they stand in the ring, it turns them into an unbeatable fighting force. Someone is using that to gain something. Let me ask you, I have a question for you. Who is the person that was killed? What important person was it that like points us towards some kind of a scheme?
Yeah. It's got to be someone who removing them would allow evil to fester. So I think maybe it's a community leader of some kind. Or someone who had provided a sort of stability to the neighborhood, like a social organizer.
I like a social I like a social organizer, and I think it ties really nicely into your burning desire. If it was like a social organizer that was like supporting the growth of the community from the inside as opposed to kind of a gentrification force from outside. Right. If this was like the person that was like organizing social programs and like helping build out the community park and the community garden, like things that the community, that like our people in our community needed to like hold on to this space as our own. And now that they're gone, like that exact developer like is able to make that the developer that you just beat down is able to like make a lot more moves now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. That ties everything together. So yeah, I think it is someone who like grew up in the community, has been doing work, like you said, to try and provide programs for people to get access to medical needs, community gardens, all of that stuff. Someone who is like, I grew up here. I know the community. I want to make it better than I found it. People have been working so hard already, but there is just a certain level of social capital that people lack. I am going to try and get that for myself, and I'm going to come back and use that to help people. And so that now that person has been killed, I think that throws everything into imbalance.
I love that. And I'm like, it seems like what you are doing here, and aside from being fun and important and all the things that I deeply respect about you, it seems this might be part of a bigger play at the neighborhood. And it seems that our causes have once again become intertwined, and it seems like if we're going to protect this neighborhood like I know we both want to, it's going to mean figuring out who has this book and making sure that it stays out of their hands before anyone else gets hurt.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's time to get cracking.
So I'm going to ask both of us for a roll here.
Yeah.
and I think what we'll do is we'll roll, and we'll in the tradition of mystery games, in the Gumshoe tradition, we'll roll. We'll both tell the other person what they find out, like what the valuable clue is, but then the results of the roll will tell us if we get in trouble in doing so.
Exactly. Awesome.
All right.
Let's say that this is probably a normal roll.
That sounds
for difficulty. So when we roll dice in this game, we roll 2 dice. And there is a threshold that we're trying to hit, a target number, 6 for easy, 8 for normal, 10 for hard, and 12 for epic. And we add extra dice, well, not dice, but we add numbers to the dice for every advantage or disadvantage that we have. So I think for Paladin, you definitely have some traits, right? You have community, your connection to the community, which will give you a +1.
Yep.
And you're sort of I think more of the investigator. So that your supernatural lore will definitely give you +1 to your roll too.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is hunting a supernatural monster, your cause, right, is to hunt down these creatures. So I think that's a total of +3.
And I think for Venganza, this is, I don't know that you have. I don't know. Well, I'm going to ask if depending on how you're investigating, you might be able to apply one of your traits, but this definitely does help your cause. So I'd say at the least you've got a +1, if not a +2.
Yeah, I would say probably a +1 for that. And then I think the way that I am tracking down information is to use that shadow manipulation to kind of create spaces for Venganza to hide in, like kind of Spider-Man up on the walls, like
that's cool.
Link between worlds style, like pressing into a wall and kind of sliding 2D into different areas to gather information. So I'm going to give myself a +2 for that.
All right.
So I landed on a total of 6.
I got a total of 7.
Okay. So if we roll equal to or greater than the difficulty, we succeed. We do what we wanted to in the way that we wanted to do it. If the roll is lower than the difficulty, we fail, and the announcer tells the player, if you either don't do what you attempted, you do it but at great cost, or offers you some kind of hard bargain.
I'm gonna start by saying I think I'm gonna ask you. So I think let's what we'll do is because I believe we both failed.
Yep.
So what we'll do is we will give each other the clue that we want to give to this, and then we will from there either say what the cost is or the hard bargain, or what the drawback is to our failure, like what it takes us to find out the clue that we've got. So do you have any thoughts? Because I think I might.
Yeah, part of the suggested outcomes on failures are things like, obviously, taking a fall or gaining a temporary disadvantage. But one that I always like to pull on as a GM in any game is to discover an unpleasant truth. And I think the unpleasant truth that Paladin uncovers is that an old colleague of yours is connected to this, as in like maybe pulling the strings, or is
that
has
that
a lead
pairs,
on it?
Yeah, that pairs so perfectly with what I was gonna throw out as my clue, and also the drawback that I wanted to throw in.
Shoot.
Which is for the clue that I think Venganza uncovers with the shadow manipulation by studying back alleys, is you start to notice, tying perfectly into that clue, there are wrestling posters around. There are, and they are for a promotion that is not local, right? Like we have our home promotion, right? We have our local local group. We have our local promotion. This is not them. This is a very, you can take one look at the poster. I picture our home promotions have the very kind of old school boxing card looking posters that like are like somebody printed this or stamped it and like taped it on a wall. This is glossy paper. These are like high-res photos. This is a polished, this is quite literally like this is a WWE level of production on this poster.
Right.
And like what that says to me with the clue that you threw out is that like an old rival of mine has sold out and has taken their wealth and like created this glitz glamour franchise to steal out like the wrestling from the common people and create it into this elite like outside resource, and is using and is trying to use that as a way to like pave away the town's history, right? To reinvent the town in their image.
Right, to kind of take away what is already established.
Yeah.
And put on this glossy coat.
Monopolize it under their sort of global brand.
Right. And in looking for that power, perhaps dug too deeply and is tapping into this dark power that they don't understand fully. Or do understand too well and think that they can tackle sort of the, like, oh, I can beat whatever's behind this. You know, if Satan himself is manipulating me, I can just I can handle that.
Yeah, I can handle Satan. I'm a luchador. This is what we do. Oh, and we'll get there. I'm going to save that moment for later, but there's definitely a moment that I want to drop in later. And I think the unpleasant truth that you discover, I think one of the options that you have listed in the book that I genuinely am crazy for is an enemy learns how to counter your signature style.
Ooh.
I think what this is there's this moment where you get a glimpse of where this show is going to happen tonight, and like but like as you're kind of lurking in the shadows, the spirit world kind of bleeds into the shadow a little bit, and it is exactly that what you just described of like there is a much larger power at play. There is a much larger and more evil power at play. That is this person is just a conduit for something much more horrendous.
Yeah.
And the counter is you get like the barest glimpse of it like in the shadows, right? Like in your shadows, you see that there is this demonic force like lurking, and if you were to and maybe it's like it's in that space between the shadows and the spirit world of like this demon is lurking, and if either of us spend too much time in either of those spaces, we will come face to face with this horrific nightmare of a demon.
Yeah, yeah. So there's some serious stakes here.
Yeah. There's stakes to us using our powers to fight this specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. What cost will we be willing to pay?
Yeah.
What I want to know is who your rival is that's finally coming back to haunt you. Before Paladin was Paladin, were you like the same? Did you go by the same name? Or what do you?
So I started to roll some dice to build out a mask, to build out an identity for this luchador, and the results that I rolled. The first two results that I rolled are so interesting that I'm going to run with this.
Okay.
And I think this is when we find out something about Paladin as a wrestler. This is something that like, maybe this is Venganza like presenting me with this information, and I fall back in a chair, right? Like we're in my apartment. I've got one of these beautiful, the only way that I could describe it is like the really old 70s chair that like luchadors have in lucha movies of like the Batman chair. And I fall back into this old leather chair, and I put my head in my hand, and I'm like, there's something that I've never told you. And the reason I've never told you this is because I've never told anyone this. Paladin is not my original name. My original name is Paladin Jr. And there was another wrestler. There was another luchador. There was El Hijo de Paladin. The literal son of the wrestler Paladin that trained me, that I took my skills after. Saw the world as his for the taking. Was not content to honor the legacy of the wrestler that trained us. It was all that I ever wanted. I came into this business having watched his matches as a child, you know, I was in the stands. All I could remember is that little square of the ring that seemed eternally far away. And yet this man that I called my best friend once upon a time was given this by his father gave him his own mask and his own identity. And he said it wasn't enough. He wanted more, he wanted bigger, and he one day left. He disappeared. No one has heard from him in 15, 20 years. And so Paladin Jr. became Paladin. I was just a fan that got lucky, and for the last 20 years I've done my best to honor my trainer by being his memory. If Elijo de Paladin has come back to destroy the memory of his father and use this as the base of his global empire, there is no limits to what he is capable of taking in pursuit of that. There's no limits to how far he is willing to go to take what he sees as his birthright. Not for the sake of honoring it, not for the sake of love of wrestling or love of his father or love of the mask, but for the sake because there is a market value to that he can manipulate and twist and break and corrupt into something sellable. I truly believe that he might be trying to steal away the identity of Paladin.
I think that just shakes Venganza to their core. Just the raw emotion that Paladin is showing in revealing this history and this weakness, and I think has kind of been watching kind of mouth agape, and turns around and hands on forehead, turns back, puts a hand on Paladin's shoulder and says, I am honored that you would share such a painful memory and this history with me, these secrets. Of course, they will never leave our confidence, and I respect the strength that it must have taken to admit this. I know that wherever you came from, whoever you were, whoever you think you are, you have grown so much more and so much stronger than that person that you once were. I have seen the deeds that you have done for this community and for the world. You are my friend, and you are my partner. And because of this, because of that bond that we share, I will help you set things right. Not only for the good of the people, but to settle the weight that is on your soul.
My friend, if I can have given this community, if I can have given not just this community, but you as my friend, a fraction of what Paladin gave to me, then I am, and it is clear in this moment that I have, then I can call myself a contented, I can say that my legacy has been cemented. But this is no longer about me. This is not about Paladin Jr. And truth be told, it is, as much as I want to say this is about the memory of the wrestler that trained me, it is about much more than that, and I think we both know that. It's time that we did this for the community, and it's time that we set things right. And if in the process I can find some measure of peace, then so be it. But we have a responsibility to the people that look up to us, and so I think the only thing that we can do is give the people a show that they will never forget.
I think Venganza reaches down a hand to do the kind of classic, not handshake, but forearm, hands to forearm
shake, yep.
Right, clasp. We link arms, and Venganza locks eyes with Paladin and says, yes, we will show people there is good in the world, and that we will do anything to keep this community safe and to destroy evil wherever it may lurk.
And I think we cut straight to the climax of the story. Like, I think that the next shot that we get is the show is unfolding, right? And
right, exactly.
It is. What let me ask you, what is the venue in our neighborhood that holds the wrestling shows? Like where do we see where is the wrestling show held in our neighborhood?
Oh, yeah. I think it's an old like school gymnasium.
Yeah, that feels good.
Like a basketball court that is no longer being used, or maybe it is actually. That might be even better. The school, the local high school, has the court that they bring in a ring, and so the bleachers are packed on either side with all of the locals, and it becomes kind of a community affair where there's like little street festivals that pop up around it with vendors selling foods and candies, and people selling like t-shirts and memorabilia and things like that. Everyone kind of comes together
I love it.
for one night. And so that's usually where we wrestle, is inside this old gym.
And I think I think where we find ourselves in the climax is in this old gym, and like we get there and we find that like it is the funhouse mirror, like demonic version of that exact like kind of beautiful thing. Like all the vendors are outside I think we see bandages on his head and black eye. We see the land developer from earlier has like the street festivals are all replaced by land developers offering, big development deals on condos, and with the camera we follow the camera inside, and we see that like what was a gymnasium, right? Like in the opening credits of our story, we saw shots of us wrestling in this gymnasium, and it is a gymnasium. I mean, it is enthusiastic. People are so excited, and then there's a real sense of community and love, but it is nonetheless visibly a high school gymnasium. But in this moment, like when we are like, as we are about to make our grand entrances and step into the ring and stand off and save the day, it is Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
It has been like, it just doesn't look the same. Everything is shrouded in darkness except for like spotlights in the distance where previously you could see the basketball hoop. It is, and it seems like there is a gigantic like supernatural crowd of people gathered and like chanting, and we scan the audience and we see that it's a mixture of community members who are kind of like and maybe we get like a brief shot of the sort of three lines that have covered the entire building, right? The summoning circle is the entire building. So there are people that are clapping and they just kind of look like they have been possessed. And then there are also like skeletons and demons and things also clapping as this whole infernal affair is unfolding around this particular gymnasium.
Yeah, I think all of the ring has these gentle licks of flame that are kind of coming up from underneath it and around the edges as well, in addition to kind of the clearly monstrous and demonic energy that is happening here. And as we enter, kind of we are like the lights in the middle of that darkness. There's kind of a gentle glow of some kind, like a yellowy white glow around both of our auras as we enter the ring.
And I think that like there is a match that has just ended, and like they are carrying off one of the wrestlers who looks just badly injured, and it like has this energy of like the wrestling that is happening here is horrific, and it is it is visually like immediately identifiable as like unsafe and harmful, and like it is toxic is the way that I would describe it. It feels like toxic wrestling. It feels like it is the worst picture of what people think of when they think of professional wrestling.
Yeah, like a hardcore match gone to the extreme.
Yeah. And we walk into the ring, and there's and like the crowd gasps because we were not on the card, and I think the thing facing us in the ring. And I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this as we set up this big fight, because this we accidentally set it up, or rather by happenstance we have set up the perfect visual for this closing fight, which is what is standing in the ring is green and gold Paladin.
Oh, like snap.
It is the original colors because he never sacrificed the color scheme.
That's right.
He never formed that tag team.
I love that.
So yeah, that is Paladin has the book and is announcing things and pauses when we kind of enter, and like that is sort of what we see in front of us, and then like in that moment sets the book down, and like flames swirl around it as like the portal is starting to open and the demonic force is starting to crawl through, which means that we have to defeat Paladin, who's got superpowers at this point,
of
obviously.
course.
Before this portal opens.
Yeah. So I think we have this moment where we've kind of entered, and of course, diegetically, our entrance music plays.
Yeah.
Despite there being no speakers or anything like that, and over whatever machine was playing the music for everyone else, we turn to look at each other and just have that moment of solemn, single nod, of like, yeah, it is time. And we go back to back to face off. What's going on here on the table is that I imagine Paladin, the Dark Paladin, is a boss.
Yeah.
And so as a boss, he has a ward that prevents him from taking any kind of damage unless it is broken by either a special action of some kind or a super attack. And so one of us, because we're currently both en fuego, we could just do that, I think, which is a great use of power. And maybe that is the first thing that we do, is that Venganza, as the younger, more headstrong of the two wrestlers, climbs up into the ring and declares, "You do not deserve your name. You have besmirched the honor of all technicos and all luchadores across the world. You have sold yourself for power, for a glimpse at something greater than yourself, when you have also enabled the suffering of all people, of the common folk. You have forgotten what Lucha Libre is. You have lost yourself in a selfish quest for greed, and I will not stand for it. You and I, we will settle things properly, and in the end, you will see the error of your ways." And charges. And I think just there's this sort of sequence of back and forth swings and kicks as Venganza just furiously launches an assault, driving Paladin backwards, and maybe at one point Paladin holds up the book, and we see that there's energy flaring in and out of the book into Paladin, and holds the book up in front of their face, and Venganza just pulls back, crackling with divine energy, and slams their fist into the book, sending it flying. So I'm gonna spend my die for my super attack to remove the ward. So like the book is still there; it's still got power, but obviously whatever was causing this defensive aura around Paladin has been demolished.
I love that, and I think what happens as that is happening is, the book goes flying. Paladin holds out a hand and forms holds out his hand and because it is wrestling, forms a steel chair of fire and brimstone and obsidian, and grabs hold of it and is like, if you want to settle this the honest way, we'll settle this the honest way. I will take what is my birthright. And when I am done, and points a finger at Paladin as a skeleton hand forms around my throat. I will not just take your neighborhood. I will not just take your legacy. I am taking that mask off of your face.
Yeah. And as we know, that is the ultimate dishonor. It's not only the source of your your power, but like your pride. It is your
my
identity.
it is my identity. It is who I am.
It's who you are.
And
So he reaches out and lifts you off the ground and is like, you feel the life force around you sort of siphoning away as he's trying to grab you. What does Paladin do about this situation?
I think Paladin just grabs the hand and is like in the air and grabs the hand, and with that tremendous strength, like with that not even spiritual strength, not even supernatural strength, just raw physical, don't fuck with me power, like pulls open the skeleton hand, falls flat on his back, rolls up. They climb to their feet. They point their finger at Eliho and are like, we don't do this in this neighborhood. We don't use supernatural trickery to solve fights, and rushes with just a full-on arms extended, like body avalanche to just like crash hard into their old rival, into the person that has tormented him his entire career.
Yeah, I love that. Are you using your super attack, or are you like just making that a regular, like, I'm gonna just dive tackle you?
I'm gonna save my super attack and use just a regular attack. I'm gonna save my super attack and just use a regular attack for this.
Makes sense. So that, I think, is gonna be either a normal or a difficile roll.
I'm gonna say I think it's a difficile.
Difficile, yeah, because you're facing down, like this is your past. It's coming back to haunt you, and as a superior fighter. So the difficulty is going to be 10. You're using your signature style of power, just raw power, right? I think you have an advantageous position in that Iko's moves. And this is advancing your cause. Absolutely. Right. What else do we think is in play here?
Do we think that I'm gonna ask you a question for a +1 here.
Yeah.
What does what does Venganza do to set up our cool tag team maneuver that involves me rushing, doing this body check maneuver?
Nice. I think I might sweep the leg just to
very cool.
set Iko like off balance.
So I see you charging. I'm running, and then just head on like collision.
Yeah. Venganza kicks the knee of Iko, who falls down to one knee, as looks up in that like front on camera angle as you barrel in. So I think you're rolling with +4.
That is, I rolled an 8, so that is a 12 total. That is epico.
Hell yeah. So you have succeeded, and on a success, you can do all kinds of things like gain temporary advantages, overcome challenges, but I think in this case you want to inflict a fall.
I want to hit. I want to hit, and I want to hit hard.
Yeah. So what does that look like as you just like slam into Iko and pin them against the ropes?
So what it is I run, and like I have my arms extended, and Iho is falling forward. I bring my arms around just to like crush him as I come around. Paladin lifts up Iho. They then like have them, once their arms are wrapped around Iho, they spring backwards with sort of a belly to belly suplex and just crash them hard into the mat.
Nice.
And stand up. And I think like as I stand up, as Paladin stands up, they point out to the crowd, and like the forces of hell are visibly disappearing as we have shaken Iho to his core.
Yeah. So from there, I think...
Also, I just need it noted that I did a cool point to the sides, like I did that, and then that's... I mean, Paladin does that, but I'm excited. This is me being excited in the moment, and I want the listeners at home to know that that's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, hey, check this out. And I think that the few mortals who are here are like cheering through their kind of aura of demonic possession. Like, there's a moment of clarity for them as the energy is rocked. I think the forces of hell redouble their efforts, and I imagine that there's like a gang of minions here, right? There's these monsters and undead. I think a bunch of skeletons are kind of approaching the ring while Venganza is like applauding, like, yeah, did you see that? Look at this. Paladin is an incredible fighter, and this is what years of experience provide. You will not withstand against our assault. And it's just like kind of doing this righteous monologue, standing tall with the cape flowing in the wind, as skeletons reach up and just grab Venganza and start dragging them, like slam them down to the ground and start trying to drag them out of the ring and into these fissures of hellfire that are appearing as the ground is cracking.
That's so dope.
And I think I'm gonna make myself roll to like kick out.
I think that sounds good. Yeah.
Or I'm gonna get dragged down. So I'm gonna say this is probably a normal roll.
Yeah, that feels right.
It's a gang, and I can handle.
I'd say if you succeed, that you kick out and then deal a fall to the minions, which I think in this case would eliminate these particular minions. Like, if you can get out of this, then these minions are not really an issue anymore because they're going to get sucked into this.
Right, that makes sense. So I am going to say that I have this stunning athleticism, right? I can do parkour, I can kind of wriggle, and dodge and shimmy and shake. So I'm giving myself a bonus for that. But I'm outnumbered. I think that's a bad position, which takes away a die, or takes away +1 from my roll. I think I'm just going to give myself a flat 2d6 roll and see what happens. And I've got a total of 5. So I do not succeed in this case. I might take a fall as I think
you got to suffer a fall here. I think as you're getting dragged, and I think the other thing that I want to throw out is like a disadvantage of like I have to save you, right? Like it's a matter of like I can't let you like Paladin, like Iho is in a position where I could end this, but I can't possibly let my most trusted companion like get dragged into hell.
Right. Do you defeat your long time rival, or do you save your partner? Yeah. So I'm being dragged and like yelling like, "End it, Paladin! Forget about me. It is more important that you bring this villain to justice. I will perish here."
I'm looking back and forth, and I'm looking back and forth, and I look to the sky, and I'm like, not today, not yet. And I climb. I am invoking a rule in the book. I am taking a +1 here because I am climbing to the top rope, which is not my normal move, but I am climbing to the top rope to splash directly onto these skeletons, which is not my signature style, but this is going to at least help my cause. So I'm going to take a +2 here.
Yeah.
As I just am coming down hard to like just destroy them with the sheer like bulk of my weight crashing down on these skeletons.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you another +1 for your strength, because you're just a frog splash off the top rope into a horde of skeletons has gotta hurt a lot. And I think I'm gonna give you another +1 because you're motivated to save your tag team partner. It's like
so I rolled a 10, so that is a total of a 13.
Oh, so it looks so cool as you dive off the top rope, right? Like the camera is shot from that very low angle.
Yeah.
To emphasize just your massive size as you're kind of blotting out one of those spotlights that's shining down on you, and just slow-mo crushing into them, right?
Yeah. And they are obliterated. And I'm going to say, what advantage do I give you for your next action, having taken out these skeletons?
Ooh, I think
just because I did really, really well on that roll, and I think that
I think it's good that we give something extra there. I think I'm going with first thought, best thought. I think the advantage is like from the smashed up skeletons, there's enough bones that Venganza can just grab some of the like limbs and turn them into like tonfa.
Yeah.
As like,
yep.
extra weapons because I'm a martial artist. So now I have
sure.
these two sticks, and I'm like, oh, now I can fight even better. Hand to hand is one thing, but if you want to play dirty,
and Iho wants to play dirty. I mean,
Right.
that like he brought a chair in moment one.
right? Like, I'm gonna meet you halfway. So I think I'm gonna take that as my bonus. Into the next actions.
And I think at this point, Iho's climbed to his feet and is at this point is down a fall, is down to 2 falls, is beaten down. The skeleton, his skeleton minions are broken. I think at this point he is going to, unless one of us takes immediate action, hold out his hands. I'm going to look at the boss actions here and decide what I want to give this. He is specifically holding out his hands to the portal as fire and brimstone are starting to pour out of it, and there are columns of fire starting to burst out the ring posts. We get the cane effect on the ring posts, and the fire shoots up, and he is like, if I have to do this, I'm going to destroy this entire building and level this community in a wall of fire if I cannot have this. And so it is crackling, there's fire, there is lava, and I'm going to say that is going to make it that it is much harder for both of us to wrestle on our terms, because I think to do so we would also then have to make a second roll to avoid getting burned by fire.
Yeah. That's a significant hazard that is.
Or rather, I'll say if we fail an action, a wrestling roll here, if we fail an attack, we automatically take an extra fall as fire just engulfs us.
Yeah. And I think from there, Venganza climbs up, kips up into the ring, and levels one of these skeletal arms, sort of like a Bokoblin skeleton arm in Breath of the Wild at Iho, and it's like, you fool, you want to claim this community for your own, yet you will destroy it to build it up from the ground? Do you not see the terror you instill in the people here? This is no way to lead. This is no way to achieve what you want. You will only cause more suffering and pain for the people here. I will not have this. And charges forth and starts laying in strikes, low strike with the first arm, high strike with the second one, using both of them crossed to try and parry strikes, etc.
Big roundhouse kick right to the mid. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, super kick to the chest, throw him back into the turnbuckle. Right,
love it. Give me that attack roll. And that's it. So that's at least a +2 because you've got your tonfas and your martial arts style.
Right.
I feel like this is the boss, right? This is absolutely affecting your cause, right?
For sure.
Because if not failing here is going now people are directly in danger. So I'm going to definitely give you that +3.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. All right. So I have a 6 + 3 is a 9.
All right.
Do we think that this is still a difficile scenario?
I think at this moment, no. I think because I think that his attention was his last action distracted his attention a little bit, so
That's
his focus
true.
wasn't
He's
on
so focused on conjuring this massive effect. Yeah,
that he wasn't focused on the wrestling. He was tougher before because his priority was beating us in the ring, and now his priority is destruction, and so his attention has moved a little bit.
Yeah. So I think there's these strikes, and I think Venganza just smashes the bones up against Iho's frame as he's blocking and parrying, and just crash, 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 with the bones splintered and the dust kind of drifting in the wind. I think we see that Iho is kind of stunned in that classic kind of video gamey, ooh, I'm seeing stars, I will not fall here, you fool. You think that you can take me? I have gained more power than you ever can imagine. This is my territory. This is my kingdom. And I will rule by an iron fist if I have to. I will grind you into dust. And Venganza, while Iho has been trying to get his bearings, has been climbing up onto the turnbuckle, of course, and crosses himself and says, "There will be no such thing. It is time for you to be brought to justice."
And I think at that same exact moment, adding my super attack aid to this move, as we both roll at this moment, I climb in the ring. And like I am like underneath, like you're on the top turnbuckle, I am underneath you. And for a moment, like Iho walks to the middle of the ring and like is conjuring fire and looks impossible. And you swear you see a third wrestler on the other end of the ring. You swear for a moment you see them, and like they are wispy, and light and like shrouded in glistening light. But all you swear you see are the colors green and gold. As for a moment, like my posture breaks for a moment, right? Like I'm ready to go, and then suddenly I'm like taken aback as my super attack is not just a tag team maneuver here, but a trios maneuver.
Trios!
With the ghost of Paladin off in the other corner about to like join us in this. As this is ultimately putting this legacy to rest. This is putting this strife that has tortured me for the last 20 years and driven the man's son to the literal gates of hell. This is where we end this.
This is it, yeah. So Venganza sees this happen and is like, "It is time. We'll put this to rest once and for all. For the glory of the name of Paladin, for the people of this community, in the name of all things that are good in this world, we deliver you justice," and dives off into a full like Hurricane Rana, lands on Iho and flips, just slams into the ground, which leaves him exposed for Paladin to step in and finish the job.
And I think what that looks like is, so he's on the ground. I think it's gotta just be like, I think the only thing that it can be is it is a running stomp. And I think it is a running stomp from myself and from the Ghost of Paladin. Like we jump into the air. And it's like, you're running, jump up, knees to the chest, and then they just come down as you land on them.
Yeah.
And we both do it right on the chest as I suspend that super attack to deliver the third fall to Paladin and like crush him. He is rendered into ash. He disappears into a portal of fire and brimstone. And I think the last roll that we both need to make here, as I think like what is happening is we actually do need to seal this portal and close this thing, or else this place will burn to the ground. And I am not willing to sacrifice this community center to this hellscape. Yeah.
Okay. So we see that perfectly synergized triple just slam combo attack. And the roof is starting to crumble around us, right? People are fleeing from the bleachers. The demons are slowly being dragged down and squealing, no, with their little claws and hands and stuff sticking out of the fissures. And I think the three of us link up arms in a triangle, and we like puff out our chests and kind of pool our life energies to try and seal up the whole thing.
That's great.
This feels like an epico.
This feels like epico
kind of difficulty for sure.
And I think we'll real quickly rattle off because I think there's a lot of pro and a lot of con. I think we can kind of run through all of them.
Yeah.
I think that having the Ghost of Paladin is counteracted by the fact that the forces of hell are also here. Like, I think those have canceled out.
Yeah, that's a balance.
But I do think this is both of our causes.
Yeah. So we'll get bonuses for that. I think your supernatural lore makes sense because you know how to seal these kinds of portals.
And I think that we're both like assisting one another.
Yep.
I think I'm trying to think. This is we're hopping into game design mode for a minute because I'm going to propose how I think this rule can go.
Shoot.
Is I'm just gonna throw out like some real weird fun dice stuff that may in fact be entirely nonsense. What if we both roll and take our higher dice,
Ooh,
higher of the two dice, and add that together to be our like ultimate tag team energy?
Yeah. We've got the tag team advantage kind of. Yeah. I love that.
And so that addresses the fact that we are a team and we are a united front. And so I think that it is 2d6 plus 2 with each of the higher dice that we roll of 2d6 being added together.
Yeah. Okay.
My high dice is a 4.
My high dice is a 6.
That is a 12.
Double
that
sixes.
We achieved the impossible.
Holy
and
smokes.
I think it was close.
That's really scary.
Actually, hell just opens. It's over.
It's
Sorry.
over. We're both done.
I think what happens is we lock arms and like we puff out our chests, and maybe reflecting that result, like it almost doesn't work. And what has to happen is it's just not enough. Like all of our combined power and experience and all of the lore that I have learned in my 20 years isn't quite enough. And what ultimately has to happen is like our sort of triangle, like locked hands breaks as the ghost of my mentor is like, I know what I have to do. And it is to atone for what was done in my name.
And I think Venganza is just humbled by this. Not only by the overwhelming power, because they've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, sure.
They've fought all kinds of things, but nothing at this scale, right? And also the sacrifice that is being asked. There must be another way. We have to be able to.
And the ghost looks at me. The ghost looks at Paladin Jr. and is like, if I can have given the world a champion of justice as powerful as I have watched you become, and for a moment, like I kind of look over in the direction of Venganza, and I'm like, the legacy is strong and the legacy is unbroken. And the ghost of Paladin is like, well then, that is all that any luchador can ask for, is that the mask that we wear makes the world a better place and imparts a sense of justice for those that cannot achieve justice for themselves.
Then
it is time for me to face a new battle. It is time for me to face there is a new class of Rudo for me to fight, and it is on the other side of this gateway. And I think that it almost doesn't look, there's no drama to it, right? It's just it looks like it's just an old man walking through a doorway, right?
Yeah.
Like he looks small in that moment, but like not small in a way that like not small in an unintimidating way, just like looks profoundly ordinary as he walks through this gateway, and all of this energy is sucked up and this book seals shut, and we are back in a high school gymnasium.
Yeah. The courage of your mentor is inspiring. Paladin, my brother, my friend. I know we have many years ahead of us, but I hope that I can bring that level of respect and honor to the legacy
And I think you turn back just in time to see my cloak falling to the ground and disappear and fading into the shadows as the people that are in this gymnasium are starting to gather around you and be like, "Oh my God, you fought demons! Oh my God, thank you so much for saving us!" And you just hear, I think the last thing you hear is like, as Paladin like sits in, like we see a shot of Paladin sitting in his chair.
Yeah.
And we just hear a whisper in your voice of like, "You already have, and now take your victory lap because I've had plenty."
And there's just that slow, is it like a Michael Mann kind of aerial shot of the camera panning up as Venganza looks at the crowd that's like slowly just swarming in of all of these people like asking questions and like, what do we do now in the wake of this moment?
And that's game.
That's it.
Oh, that rip! That was so good.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so happy about that. That was so incredibly good. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm overjoyed.
Jeff, thank you so much. I couldn't have asked for a better experience.
That was incredible. I'm so happy about that. Oh. Real quick, before we wrap up, where can people find you, your work, and what's so cool about Lucha Libre online?
Sure enough. So once again, if you want to check out other games, including what's so cool about Lucha Libre, I've got a whole bunch available on itch. That's at colorspraygames.itch.io. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I tweet a lot about social justice and game design and all kinds of other fun stuff. I'm on Twitter at Lucha Libris. I am a pro GM for Magpie Games for just a little bit longer. So by the time you listen to this, you might be able to get the last ticket to one of my games for Root the Role-Playing Game. That's magpiegames.com/curated-play if you want to find out how to get linked up with me. And I'm also a voice actor for the Penumbra Podcast, which is a queer sci-fi and fantasy audio drama. If you want to hear yourself represented in stories, that's at the Penumbra Pod on Twitter, thepenumbrapodcast.com.
Well, thank you so much. This was I had high expectations for this. I'm not going to lie, and this met all of them. And I'm so delighted. So thank you again. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. Thanks, past me, and thanks again to Simon for coming on the show. That game absolutely ruled. That was one of my favorite stories that I've told in games in a very, very long time. It lived up to every one of my expectations and then some. I am smiling ear to ear thinking about it. Be sure to head to colorspraygames.itch.io and pick up a copy of What's So Cool About Lucha Libre. And be sure to follow Simon on Twitter at Lucha Libris so you can follow all of the other cool work that he does. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod, head to our Discord channel at bit.ly/partyofonediscord, and head to our merch store at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. If you enjoy the show, consider supporting us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer, coffee.com/JeffStormer. You can also support the other podcast that I produce every week, All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast on the One Shot Podcast Network, in which my best friend Eric Catano and I every single week take a listener-submitted prompt, we spin it into an original fantasy character, and we populate a shared universe one story at a time. New episodes drop every Friday-ish at oneshotpodcast.com. Or you can support another ongoing project I've got going on with another one of my best friends, Noah Houlihan, and that is The Games We Made Along the Way, which is an ongoing, monthly-ish game design stream in which Noah and I give each other a game design prompt, and then we have to turn around and in the following month create a functional game that we can sit down and play on a Twitch stream. We play it, we play test it, we give feedback on it, and then we spin it around and we offer it up on itch. We're going to be playing together next Saturday, the 24th of April. We're going to be playing a game that I'm currently working on. I don't have a name for it, but it is a game that uses Google Maps as its core mechanic. Specifically, the teaser that I will give is that it uses the Google Maps search nearby function, and it's going to be great. You can find that at twitch.tv/plus2comedy. Party of One is produced and edited, as always, by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. All music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Megaran, featuring the D&D Sluggers. And the Party of One logo is by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming onto the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's all we do here, so until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance, and as always, party on, everybody!